Hello, good afternoon. How are you today? I hope that you've had a lovely weekend and you've enjoyed some time for rest and recuperation. And we're at the start of another new week and at the start of today's Strategies for Being Brilliant session, which as ever comes from my first book, Strategies for Being Brilliant, 21 Ways to Be Happy, Confident and Successful. Today I'm going to be talking about chapter 20, which in the book is entitled Act as Though You Are Confident. What I'm actually going to talk about today is the whole idea of a success routine, which I do mention in this chapter. And when I wrote the book, I talk about mentally preparing yourself to set yourself up for success. But over the years, I've come to realise it's about mentally preparing yourself, certainly, but it's also about emotionally and physically preparing yourself. So today's session is all about how to set yourself up for success. I'm just going to have a chat for a couple of minutes while we see who else joins us today. As you can see, if you're a regular and you tune in, I've picked a slightly different angle. I've realised the sun was coming in quite brightly, sort of almost behind me and kind of washing me out. So you can see my hair and things. I personally can't wait to get back to a hairdresser and get my hair looked after a little bit. So last week, on last Monday, we talked about difficult people, didn't we? We talked about difficult people and how to manage your responses to that. We didn't have the Friday update because it was bank holiday and I had the day off. So today, all about success routines. Okay, so let's get started. So, setting yourself up for success. So I think often we have a tendency to do the exact opposite, and just at the time when we need to set ourselves up to be at our best, be absolutely on top form, unfortunately our often long-held habits click in and we manage to do just the opposite. So for example, at times when we want to be at our best, often that's at just the stage where we start to make up really unhelpful stories and tell and imagine what's going to happen in the future. And it's generally always probably not very good. So those stories act as a way of self-sabotaging and we set ourselves up for failure instead of success. Sometimes we can have a real lack of preparation for something. So we could be very lastminute.com and leave everything until the point where we enter into a panic zone, and instead of being at our absolute best, we're rushing around trying to remember things that we should have done. We haven't left ourselves enough time, for example, to get all the materials together that we want, or to do the reading that we might need to do, or to get ourselves physically prepared in some other way. On occasions, maybe we actively self-sabotage, and that is, even though we have the knowledge that we have to be at our absolute best, we do things to really throw ourselves under the bus. So an example of this might be, let's just say you've got a job interview coming up the next day, and what you do the night before, instead of getting yourself prepared and properly set up, you might go out partying. And I say this as somebody who decades ago did just that thing. Now luckily the interview went okay, but it very nearly couldn't have done. And if you find yourself doing things like that, it's a supreme act of self-sabotage. So what I'm going to run through today are some examples of setting yourself up for success and having a success routine in place. And these are things that I've done over the years, and if you're watching and so we've got Julie. Hi Julie, lovely to see you. If you've got some success routines, please type them into the commentary box below and let us know what yours are. And if you've got any questions, feel free to pop those in the commentary box as well. Okay, so I've thought about some examples of success routines that currently work for me. So one of them is work related in particular, and this is to do with when I go and do my live training. So outside of current events, I'm a trainer and I travel all over the UK, sometimes overseas. A couple of years ago I went to the Middle East. When just before lockdown came, I was due to go to Paris and do a speaking gig there. But I have a similar routine, whether it's here in the UK or it is overseas somewhere. And that is, I physically prepare everything I need in plenty of time. So let's imagine that I'm going to deliver some training tomorrow. What I would do is, the night before, I have a bag that I use. So it's now a small red suitcase, but it used to be a blue bag. So it was my blue bag routine, now a red suitcase routine. And in that, I pack absolutely everything that I need the night before so that I can just literally pick it up and go. So everything I would need is in there. I will have made sure that I've done all my printing a couple of days before, because I've been caught out with this before. The Wi-Fi in this house can be erratic, to say the least, and I've left my printing until the night before and discovered that the Wi-Fi isn't working or the printing for some reason, and it throws me into an absolute panic. So now I allow a couple of days that if something has gone wrong, I've got time to fix it and put it right. So I get all that done. I put so I've got a bag, it's over there, a bag full of all the pens and blue tack and all the trainer's kit that I know that I'll need with me on the day. So I have a physical printout as well of all my slides. I have a printout of a simple trainer's plan that I take with me, so I know it's there. And everything goes in the bag, including, if I'm staying away for the night, emergency tea bags. Girl can never have enough tea bags. Emergency tea bags, a couple of snacks if it's a long day and I'm going to be travelling back late at night, and often I travel by train. I'll have something that I can nibble on the way home. Everything that I need for me to deliver a fantastic day's training and be absolutely at my very best goes in that bag. But the main point of this is the bag is packed the night before, so I can pick it up and take it out of the door without having to add anything to it. I also have a checklist that I made so that when I'm packing the bag, I can tick things off, so that I don't leave anything behind. So that something else I put in the bag is a CD of any kind of music I might want to play while I'm delivering. The other things I will do, if I'm going to a place that I've not been to before, I will look up Google and I will look at Street View and I will Google the actual building, so that when I arrive, I am live. Yeah, I am live now, Sally. Yeah. So that I know when I arrive the kind of building that I'm looking for, so I'm not wandering up and down a street. And I find that really very helpful, and it fills me with confidence for the journey. I also do the same if I've got to go and stay in a hotel. So things for you to think about are, if you have to travel for parts of your work, how do you physically prepare for that journey, and how do you physically prepare so that you manage what you're going to do with the least possible stress and anxiety and the maximum chance of you arriving and absolutely being at your best. So a job interview would be another really good example here. How do you prepare yourself the night before? So the other thing I do is I make sure that I know exactly what I'm going to wear as well. I have a very limited selection of work dresses, and I plan my outfits or outfits I'm going to be away for more than one night, and I make sure that I know what I'm going to be putting on the next day. So other things that I've done in the past to set myself up for success more generally have been a practice called morning pages. Now I don't actively do this anymore, but for a number of years probably about 20 odd years ago. I used to do these. They're from a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and in it she recommends getting up 15 minutes earlier and doing a stream of free writing where you just let your thoughts pour out onto the page. I did that for a number of years and the benefits were tremendous. I also sorry, I'm just reading a message here. I do the same as you. Did you mention saving things on a USB as well as that? Yes, I do, Sally. And something I've done in the past as well is actually emailed myself documents in case, you know, the USB went missing and things like that. It's about thinking of all eventualities, isn't it? To make sure that you're not getting there and you're flawed because something won't work. So yeah, prepare as much as you can, I would say, particularly in our line of business. So to go back to the morning pages, were tremendously useful for setting me up at the beginning of the day, getting everything out of my head down onto a piece of paper, and then it had a kind of power to it, and I could just leave it there. Journaling as a practice is something I hugely recommend. It's very therapeutic, and lots of studies are showing now that the friend at the end of your pen, as I've heard it described, can really help to combat anxiety, stress, and promote your well-being. I also attribute my morning pages routine back then to part of the decision that helped me to up sticks and move overseas when my son was 9, that whole process of self-reflection. So that was something that really supported me at that period in my life. So I would set the clock. I remember this. I used to set the clock for 6:15, go downstairs, make a cup of tea, pop back into bed with my tea, and then just sit and do my morning pages. Didn't reread it again. I would shut the book and then get up and go about my routine. So that really worked. I have a slightly different routine now, particularly in the mornings, and I do think how you start and how you finish the day is quite important in setting you up for success generally. So at the moment, obviously I'm not going anywhere for training. I am doing some coaching work from home. So what I do for my success routine at the moment is I have a cup of tea or two, then I pop downstairs, I hop on my yoga mat and I do sun salutations. So those of you who might be some yogis watching this, they're a simple routine of movements from the standing position down onto the mat and up again. They are hugely energizing. So I do those, excuse me. I do those for probably between 5 and 10 minutes, and it gets my energy raised, puffs me out a little bit, and just generally shakes up my energy through my body and wakes me up, and I absolutely love them. And I discovered over the weekend that if you put the kettle, so our electric kettle went kaput, and we've now got a hob kettle, and if I put the hob kettle on, I can fit in loads of them while the kettle's boiling, tip the water in the teapot, let it brew, and carry on doing them as well. So I do those in the morning. So a couple of cups of tea, my sun salutations. I also meditate. So I've flirted with meditation for decades. And a couple of years ago, I did a mindfulness instructor's course. I think I've mentioned this before. I don't run groups or guide meditations, but it does inform my practice as a leadership and presence coach, which is mainly how I work with clients. I do think there's a massive overlap between being mindful and being present for people and leading them. You can't lead anybody if you're not in the same space, so to speak. So meditation has been something that I've found tremendously beneficial, and I like to do it first thing in the morning. I don't sit there for hours. Some mornings I've got 5 or 10 minutes. This morning I took 20 minutes. It varies, and I also like to do that at another point through the day if I can. It calms me, it grounds me, and it centres me and sets me up for the day. Another thing I do is I focus on gratitudes. I used to do this at the end of the day, and sometimes still do, because my memory is a bit hazy at times. So if I know throughout the course of the day, actually there's a lot here I really want to capture, I will make some notes. But in the morning, Oh, Sally. Okay, lovely to see you, Sally. Thank you very much. In the morning, I have a small Facebook group that I'm a member of, and we each go in the morning and we list our gratitudes. And looking back at those, I tell you what, it's a tremendous, absolutely tremendously lifting activity. And if you've not tried something like that, give it a go for a couple of weeks. And when you have those days where you feel a bit down, where you feel a little bit wobbly, you know, it can make a massive, massive difference to you. It's about focusing on purpose, on the positives in life. There's lots that aren't positive that we could choose to focus on, but I personally find it much more helpful to choose to focus on what's actually going well for us, and it's much more than you would think. At the other end of the day, I also have what I call a closing down the day ritual that sets me up for success. So I make sure I've answered all my emails and I've addressed everything that I know that I needed to address. This helps me sleep better at night. My sleep's always been a little bit up and down, but I find this end of day ritual really does quiet my mind down. And what I do at that point is also plan what I'm going to do the next day. I clear my desk, I shut my computer down, and leave myself a little list so that my desk is nice and clean and clear. And then I come out of this is my home office we're in now, and I shut the door and I don't come back in here unless it's to get a book off a shelf or something. I no longer take my laptop into the living room, and that has again benefited me enormously. Okay, so I think those are some examples there that I've shared with you. So my question for you this week really is to think about what supportive habits, rituals and routines do you have? And if you don't have any, what do you think might actually help you to show up and be at your best, and help you to resist the tendency to self-sabotage, throw yourself under a bus, leave everything to the last moment, which, while you might be able to wing it occasionally, I really do not believe that that is a long-term recipe for success. So I'm going to leave it there. We're just coming up to the 20 minutes. So if any of you have got any questions or any comments that you would like to make, please do drop something in the comment box. Otherwise, I am going to say goodbye, and I will pop in again on Friday at lunchtime just to see. So on Fridays we have the Friday catch-up, and it's a chance for you to ask any questions, discuss a few of the topics, and I'll run through some of the ideas again. But if you have no questions or comments for me, and I think we don't have now, then I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you on Friday. Have a very good week. Take care, stay safe, and have a think about those success routines. What could you do to set yourself up for more success in your life? Okay, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.